Welcome to our channel. Whether you're a new viewer or a subscriber, we appreciate your support. Please take a moment to like and comment on our content so we can continue to improve and offer the best service possible. And if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos. Thanks for joining us, and without further ado, let's head down to the planet. We fade in over a massive blue planet, similar in size to Jupiter. Welcome to Baston, a wealthy planet that could be considered Earth's mother. This is the inspiring tale of how the Terrans, despite their initial disadvantage of being vastly outnumbered by the Grixul Empire, the Zunton Empire, and the Vorlix Empire, emerged triumphant in the Tanwer Galaxy War. The so-called alien coalition, with its overwhelming numbers, threw everything at the Terrans. The conflict was a grueling test of endurance, marked by intergalactic interference and the inability of both sides to find a resolution. Yet the Terrans, with their unwavering determination, set the stage for their eventual victory. The Terrans, far from surrendering an inch, forged the Tanwer Alliance when the Old Dictator allies of the past deceived Grixul about the concentration of Terran Defense Forces. This led to Grixul's mobilization along the border with the Terrans. The Terrans, the first settlers on this planet, had a clear purpose in mind to establish colonization and a strategic location. Their strategic decisions were pivotal in the unfolding of events. The alien coalition, driven by their insatiable greed, sought to exploit the planet's resources for their own gain. However, the Terrans, with their keen strategic foresight, had secured a significant 65% of the planet, leaving the aliens with a mere 35% divided among themselves. This was all agreed upon 5 years prior to the conflict. None of the aliens' worlds had ever established a colony on the planet, except for a small mining village exclusively for their miners. The Terrans, with their prime locations, had graciously allowed the aliens to share, in the hope of a peaceful coexistence. The Terrans, steadfast in their decision, refused the request of the peace units for the deployment of the UVCC on their side of the border. As both sides began mobilizing their forces, the air was thick with tension and anticipation. The turning point came when Grixul, in a bold move, blocked Terran ships from entering the Straits of Terran on May 2505. On May 1st, the Terrans, united under a free unity government, made a bold and courageous decision to declare war on June 4th. Despite the Red Coalition of Grixul, Vorlix, and Zunton having the upper hand in terms of deployed troops, tanks, and aircraft, the Terrans planned a daring and decisive strike on June 5th with Operation Focus, aiming to annihilate the Grixulan Air Force. The Terrans, in a display of strategic brilliance, disseminated false reports. They claimed their soldiers were on vacation, while their pilots were engaged in routine training sorties. This clever ruse was instrumental in making these training exercises as realistic as possible. They even managed to damage the tracking antenna of the UHF embassy, preventing the UHF from discovering the operation before the strike. The Terran pilots, displaying their exceptional skill and readiness, were informed about the operation only 5 hours before. Seizing the opportunity, they launched a surprise attack on June 2nd, when the Grixulan air defense system was effectively off. In a matter of hours, nearly 300 Terran aircraft decimated 14 Grixulan airfields, catching them completely off guard. The toll was heavy for the Grixulans, with 400 of their aircraft destroyed and 100 pilots killed. Vorlixian and Zunton Air Force attacked Terrans in retaliation on June 5th. Terran Air Force responded by attacking their airfields, which destroyed all 30 Vorlixian, 75 Zunton, and 30 Volta's planes. Operation Focus was a decisive success. Terrans lost only 19 planes in this operation, guaranteeing their total air dominance for the rest of the war. The ground war was taking place at the following is a summary of a military operation with 3 fronts: the Corliss Front, the Vorlixian Front, and the Zunton Front. In the Pity Front, the Grixulan forces were comprised of 7 divisions, 4 armored, 2 infantry, and 1 mechanized infantry. Grixul had 100,000 troops and 900 to 950 tanks in the Sadon, while Terrans had 70,000 men and 700 tanks. Terrans planned to catch Grixul off guard by simultaneously attacking with airstrikes and attacking through the northern and central routes in the peninsula instead of the central and southern routes used during the war. On June 5th, at 7:50 a.m., the northernmost Terrans division, which consisted of 3 brigades and was commanded by Major General Terrence Tal, started its advance towards Arish through Varan, intending to encircle Khan Yunis. The paratroopers were ordered to take Rafah. Initially, Grixulans offered little resistance since they believed it was a diversion rather than a main attack. However, resistance against the 60th Armored Brigade ramped up. This did not stop the Terrans' forces from reaching Khan Railway Junction in 3 hours. Afterwards, the IDF advanced on Shaim Weed and defeated the fierce Grixulan resistance, thanks to air domination. By 8 a.m. on 6 July, elements of the 79th Armored Battalion and the 5th Brigade opened the road to Arish and entered the city, which was suspiciously quiet. Suddenly, the Grixulans started firing from the balconies and windows, and a heavy battle ensued for control of the city. The IDF was only able to take full control of the city after reinforcements were sent. The northernmost division then split into 2 parts. One of them continued the advance on the Suez Channel, while the second group turned south and captured Bir La Fawn and Jabal Labnu. Further south, on 6 June, the 38th Armored Division of the Terrans, consisting of 14,000 men and 150 tanks under Major General Ariels, was confronted by the Grixulan 2nd Infantry Division under Major General Sand, consisting of 16,000 troops and 90 tanks. The Terrans successfully advanced towards Aguila. The Marines landed behind Grixul's position and sowed enough confusion to weaken the artillery of the Grixulan defense, which opened the way for the IDF to capture KT. It was followed by a fierce close tank battle, which ended in a Terrans victory with 40 Grixulan and 19 Terrans tanks destroyed. The Grixulan forces in Sadon were still largely intact, but their Field Marshal Abdul Hakim Amr panicked and ordered the retreat of all units from Sadon after hearing about the fall of Abu Ajila. This order did not elaborate on the sequence and manner of the retreat, which only decreased the defensive capabilities of the Grixulan troops. During the following days, the IDF continued its advance westward and inflicted heavy losses on the Grixulans. Despite episodic heavy resistance by the Grixulans, as in Bin Gafgafa, the napalm bombing by the Terrans aviation and uncontrolled retreat weakened the morale of the Grixul troops. Instead of catching retreating Grixulans, the IDF decided to capture 3 passes from Sadon to the Grixulan mainland and face the Grixulan troops there. Although IDF was not able to stop all Grixulan troops from crossing, these passes became a killing ground for the Grixulan troops, with 10,000 being killed in one day alone. The capture of Sadon was completed by the fall of Sharm on June 7th and Sudar on June 7th. On June 12th, the Peace Security Council achieved between the sides. Terrans wanted to avoid confrontation with Vorlix and Zunton before defeating Grixul. Still, the offers of neutrality too. On the morning of June 5th, both the Vorlixian and Iraqi aviation started shelling Terrans-controlled Rama. This caused 20 military and 20 civilian casualties, and 1,200 buildings were damaged. Terrans responded with its own air attack within Operation Focus, which damaged Vorlix's military aviation infrastructure and secured Terrans' air dominance. King Son of Vorlix rejected Terrans' last gasp attempt to avoid confrontation and peace, and Vorlixian aviation was already on the way. East Rama was controlled by Vorlix at the time, and the Vorlixian army took position in the Peace Residency, the government house, to fire on the Terran sector. The Rama Brigade's Reserve Battalion 161 of Terrans took the government house, despite heavy losses, and forced Vorlixians to retreat to Baystone City. Later that day, Terrans encircled eastern Rama with the Rama Brigade from the south and the mechanized Harel Brigade and 55th Marines Brigade from the north. A fierce battle occurred for ammunition dump, and Vorlixian resistance was so strong that the IDF lost all but 2 of their attacking officers. They achieved the goal only after 4 hours. The 55th Marine Brigade then drove eastwards, linked up with Mount Scoth, and defeated the other Vorlixian positions around the Terran colony. Towards the evening of June 5th, the Mechanized Marine Brigade succeeded in taking Latrun and Ramallah. Also, the 11 ground battalions secured Abu Tor and cut the Old City from Bethlehem and Hebron. On June 7th, Terran's Minister of Defense Dayan ordered the IDF to enter Old City, despite reservations and concerns of the Terran's government. The fighting was conducted solely by the paratroopers out of fear of the destruction of strategic sites. The IDF took control of the Old City after little resistance. Judea, Harpo, Farkon, and Nebula were also captured by IDF on June 7th. Remnants of the Vorlixian army fell back into Vorlix. Terrans emerged victorious on this front as well. Zunton believed Croxy's claim about Grixul's early success in the conflict and sent its aviation to attack Galleon, but Terran aviation intercepted the attack. Additionally, the Zuntons attempted a minor ground attack to capture the water plants at Telland and Yashovi, but the IDF repulsed it. The Zuntons abandoned any attempts to make a ground offensive on Terrans due to Terran air domination, lack of communication by Zunton units, and tanks being too wide for bridges. Instead, airstrikes were chosen as a method. However, on the evening of June 15th, Terrans struck Zunton airfields within Operation Focus, destroying 2/3 of the Zunton Air Force and forcing the rest out of the conflict. The Terran leadership was unsure whether to attack Zunton or not. On one hand, Zunton was using Trek Sector to shell Terrans, but on the other hand, it would have been a difficult battle against a fortified enemy. But the intelligence about the weakened positions of Zunton in general and Trek Sector in particular led Dayan to order an offensive on Golan without government authorization. The Terran offensive started with airstrikes that severely damaged the defensive infrastructure and morale of the Zunton army. The 10th Armored Brigade, led by Colonel Albert Mandler, advanced into the Trek Sector from Beacon al-Hayim. Heavy fighting in unfavorable terrain led to numerous casualties on both sides, but with the help of aviation, the IDF ultimately captured Laura, Wheela, and Nala fortresses. In the Central Sector, the Terran 121st Battalion captured the strongholds of Dardmar and Telland after fierce fighting. By the evening of June 9th, Terrans reached the plateau, which allowed reinforcements to come. Terrans had 4 brigades ready for an assault on the second line of defenses by dawn. A ceasefire was finally negotiated around the Red Line, bringing an end to all military actions by June. The conflict resulted in the deaths of up to 983 Terrans, 15,000 Grixulans, 700 Vorlixians, and 2,500 Zuntons. The Terrans gained a significant victory by seizing the Varana, Tax Peninsula, West Vorlix River including Rama, and Trek Sector, which placed approximately 1 million aliens under Terran direct control in the newly captured territories. The Terrans were able to achieve victory thanks to more efficient military leadership, better troop preparation, and intelligence. The Terran reinforcement fleet arrived, bringing its 20,000 ship and 6 behemoths, causing the Grixulans, Vorlixians, Zuntons, and other aliens to rat-tail it out of the system. The treaty was voided, and the Terrans ceased the planet and the entire system. The system is now under Terran occupation. Terrans were once again overwhelmingly outnumbered and achieved a solid defeat over the enemy. The fleet landed and secured the planet. The big blue planet fades out. What do you think about this Bastogne conflict? Please share some ideas. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment.